නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස. Dear friends in Dhamma, today in this video, I will delve into the remarkable events that unfolded in the life of Arahant Sariputta after his enlightenment. In my previous video, I covered the period from Arahant Sariputta's birth to his attainment of enlightenment. In this installment, we will explore Arahant Sariputta's appointment as a chief disciple, his profound wisdom, the cherished friendship between Arahant Sariputta and Venerable Ananda, Arahant Sariputta's exemplary quality of gratitude, humility, and forgiveness, and ultimately his parinibbana, in English is called his passing away. So I would like to cover all this topic in this particular video. Appointment of Arahant Sariputta as a chief disciple. On the same day that Arahant Sariputta achieved arahantship, while addressing a gathering of 1,250 monks, the Buddha appointed Arahant Sariputta and Arahant Mahamoggallana, who had attained arahantship a week earlier, as the two chief disciples of the Buddha Aggasavaka. It's worth noting that this decision caused some discontent among other senior monks, who wondered why these two relatively junior monks, who had just recently become arahants, were chosen for such esteemed positions, bypassing more senior members of the Sangha. In response to the monks' displeasure, the Buddha explained his choice by revealing that Arahant Sariputta and Arahant Mahamoggallana had made a profound aspiration long ago to become the chief disciple of future Samma Sambuddha. They had diligently cultivated the necessary perfections over countless lifetimes to fulfill this aspiration. In the previous era, during the time of another Samma Sambuddha named Anomadassi, Arahant Sariputta was born as a wealthy Brahmin named Sarada. Filled with a deep longing to discover the truth of life, he renounced his wealth and worldly attachment to become an ascetic. During his journey, he had the opportunity to listen to the sermon delivered by the chief disciple of the Anomadassi Buddha. His name was Venerable Nisaba. This discourse profoundly inspired him, and in the presence of the Buddha, he made a resolute vows to become the chief disciple of a future Samma Sambuddha. The Buddha, foreseeing the fulfillment of this aspiration in the future, declared its certainty. Arahant Sariputta and his wisdom. Arahant Sariputta was indeed renowned for his exceptional wisdom and profound understanding of the Buddha's teachings, making him perhaps the wisest among the Buddha's disciples, second only to the Buddha himself in his knowledge of the Dhamma and its practical application. Due to his outstanding wisdom, the Buddha had designated him as the foremost male disciple in terms of wisdom among all his followers. His counterpart was Arahant Bhikkhuni Khema. Arahant Sariputta possessed the ability to eloquently convey the Buddha's doctrine to others. There were occasions when the Buddha, recognizing Arahant Sariputta's expertise, would announce his need for rest and ask Arahant Sariputta to continue teaching the congregation of monks. For instance, in the Samgiti Sutta of the Digha Nikaya, one of the Buddha's long discourses, after initially delivering a discourse to gathering of monks and lay devotees, the Buddha, due to a backache, requested Arahant Sariputta to address the monks. Arahant Sariputta delivered the discourse on the Samgiti Sutta, which the Buddha also listened to. Upon the completion of Arahant Sariputta's teaching, the Buddha, upon standing up, not only confirmed the accuracy of what Arahant Sariputta had taught, but also expressed his approval, reinforcing the significance of Arahant Sariputta's role in disseminating the Buddha's teachings. Good Sariputta, well indeed have you proclaimed the way of teaching together for the monks. Samgiti Sutta, Digha Nikaya. Similarly, in the Saccavibhanga Sutta of the Majjhima Nikaya, having praised the ability of Arahant Sariputta in teaching the Four Noble Truths, the Buddha left and Arahant Sariputta went on to give a detailed description of the Four Noble Truths to the assembled audience of monks. Sariputta, monks, is able to proclaim, teach, lay down, establish, open up, analyze, and elucidate the Four Noble Truths. Saccavibhanga Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya. Because of his unrivaled skill in teaching of the Buddha both to the lay and monastic disciples, Arahant Sariputta carried the title of the Dhammasena-adhipati. The commander-in-chief of Dhamma is the meaning. Friendship between Arahant Sariputta and Venerable Ananda. Another notable friendship that Arahant Sariputta had was with Venerable Ananda, who had the greatest respect and admiration for him. Venerable Ananda was the Buddha's chief attendant and the Dhamma treasurer, which no doubt was immensely appreciated and admired by Arahant Sariputta. Following Arahant Sariputta's passing away, when Arahant Chunda gave the news to Venerable Ananda with Arahant Sariputta's alms bowl and the robes, Venerable Ananda, who was only a stream enterer, Sotapanna, when informed the Buddha how upset he felt. Then, O Lord, my body became weak as a creeper. Everything around became dim and things were no longer clear to me. When I heard about the final passing away of the Venerable Sariputta, then Venerable Ananda went on to describe his admiration for Arahant Sariputta. But, O Lord, the Venerable Sariputta has been to me a mentor, teacher, and instructor, one who rouses, inspires, and gladdens, uttering and preaching Dhamma, a helper of his fellow monks, and we remember how vitalizing, enjoyable, and helpful his Dhamma instruction was. Arahant Sariputta's quality of gratitude. Let me share some intriguing insight about Arahant Sariputta's profound sense of gratitude. Arahant Sariputta never failed to remember his very first Buddhist teacher, Arahant Assaji, from whom he first heard the Buddha's teaching in brief and became a stream enterer, Sotapanna. If they both happen to be residing in the same monastery, Arahant Sariputta will visit the Buddha first and then visit Arahant Assaji to pay homage to him. If Arahant Assaji was residing elsewhere, before going to sleep each evening, he will find out where Arahant Assaji was and pay homage to that direction and would sleep with his head in the same direction. When he discovered Buddha's teaching as ascetic upatis, he immediately went with his friend Kolita. After listening to the same stanza that they learned from Arahantassaji, he too became a streamenterer, Sotapanna, listening to the 4 lines and entered the path of liberation. Then both went in search of his former teacher Sanjaya to try and persuade him to come with them to see the Buddha and learn the true path of liberation. They could not persuade him to do so for his own reasons, because he didn't want to be a disciple. Why? Because he was a teacher. Then he has to again be a student or disciple. He didn't like for that. There was a 120 years old poor man staying at Jetavana Monastery in Savatthi, doing some manual work in return for food from the monks. Arahant Sariputta remembered that on one occasion this man had offered him the little food that he had collected from begging for himself, and on that advice of the Buddha, ordained him as a monk and helped him to attain the arahantship, attain the enlightenment. So, when Arahant Sariputta knew that he was going to pass away in 1 week, he wanted to visit his mother, who still remained a Brahmin and practiced Brahmin faith and was hostile to the Buddha's teaching. As all her 6 children had become Buddha's disciples, having received permission from the Buddha, he visited his mother and taught her the Buddha's teaching from his deathbed, and as a result, she did attain Sotapanna, the first spiritual state of streamenterer. Once a fellow monk who had a certain grudge against Arahant Sariputta made a false accusation to the Buddha, claiming that Arahant Sariputta physically hit him and left on a walking tour without apologizing to him. When the Buddha called Arahant Sariputta and inquired him about the accusation, he explained that he would have hurt another monk and left without apologizing if he had not developed mindfulness of his body and went on to express certain virtues he had developed. I abide with the mind with no anger or ill will. Just as the earth accepts pure and impure such as excreta, urine, saliva, pus and blood without loathing. Just as the water washes pure and impure without loathing. Just as the fire burns pure and impure without loathing. Just as the air blows away pure and impure without loathing. Just as the dust wipes away the pure and the impure without loathing. Just as a begging outcast boy or girl has a humble mind, just as a tame bull with its horn cut wanders around without harming anybody, I abide disgusted and loathing this putrid body, just as a clean person feels disgusted and loathing when a carcass of a snake, dog or human is wrapped around the neck. I abide with this body which is perforated and leaking, just as a man using a perforated frying pan with oil leaking. If I had not established mindfulness of the body, I may have offended someone and left without apologizing. The accusing monk then felt guilty and distressed, admitting to the Buddha and it was a false accusation, and begged for pardon. Arahant Sariputta pardoned him, as otherwise the particular monks would have faced grave consequences for making the false accusation, and Arahant Sariputta was humble enough to beg for an apology for if he had done any wrong to the accusing monk. On another occasion, accidentally a corner of Arahant Sariputta's underrobe was hanging down. A 7-year-old novice monk noticed it and pointed it out to Arahant Sariputta, who immediately corrected it. It is said that with folded hands he told the novice monk, "Now it is correct, teacher." While on alms round in the village, a Brahmin kicked Arahant Sariputta on the back to test whether Arahant Sariputta will get angry. Arahant Sariputta did not even look back. When the Brahmin, who was full of remorse, pleaded for forgiveness, Arahant Sariputta forgave him and even visited his house for food. While the people who witnessed the incident were outrageous and wanted to attack the Brahmin. While bidding farewell to the Buddha and asking for the Buddha's permission to travel to his native village for his final passing away, Arahant Sariputta pleaded for forgiveness from the Buddha if he has done or said anything that was not pleasing to the Buddha. If any deed or word of mine did not please you, O Lord, may the Blessed One forgive me. It is now time for me to go. Again, just before passing away, having got the community of 500 Buddhist monks who were with him to assemble around, Arahant Sariputta sought their forgiveness from his deathbed if any wrong has been done to them by him. For 44 years I have lived and travelled with you, my brethren. If any deed or word of mine was unpleasant to you, forgive me, brethren. Parinibbana, passing away. Through meditation, Arahant Sariputta knew that following the pattern of previous Sammasambuddhas, the two chief disciples were due to pass away before the Buddha, and that he had 7 days remaining in this life before attaining the final Parinibbana. His mother has still not accepted the Buddha's doctrine, although all her 7 children had entered the Buddha's order and had become Arahant. Arahant Sariputta intended to visit his mother to teach her the doctrine and for the final passing away to take place in the same room in his family home where he was born. Having bid farewell to the Buddha and received permission to leave, Arahant Sariputta, accompanied by his attendant Arahant Chunda and 500 monks, left the Buddha and arrived at his mother's house on the 7th day. It is said that as soon as he settled down on his bed in the same room where he was born, Arahant Sariputta developed severe dysentery. He was visited by celestial leaders such as the 4 great divine kings, Sakka, the king of gods, and the Mahabrahma. Prompted by their visits, Arahant Sariputta's mother developed faith in her son and after listening to a discourse from him attained the first stage of extreme enterer, Sotapanna. Then, having gathered the 500 monks who had accompanied him and pleading for their forgiveness if any of his physical or verbal action were unpleasant to them, Arahant Sariputta entered a deep meditation and passed away peacefully at the age of 84 years. It is believed that Arahant Sariputta passed away on the full moon day of the month of November. A few months before the Buddha's passing away, his body was cremated in the city of Rajagaha, and his relics were taken to the Buddha by his brother, his eldest brother Arahant Chunda. The Buddha had arranged the relics to be deposited in a stupa in Savatthi. You can see in this particular picture the Arahant Sariputta and his eldest brother Arahant Mahachunda. He is holding the bowl of Arahant Sariputta's bodily relics. That's why this bowl had a colorful aura around. As recorded in the Anupada Sutta of the Majjhima Nikaya, the following is the Buddha's appreciation and admiration of his chief disciple in the Buddha's own words. He is the Blessed One's son, his offspring born of his mouth, born of the Dhamma, created by the Dhamma, his heir in the Dhamma, not his heir in material things. Sariputta, monks, takes the unexcelled wheel of Dhamma set rolling by the Tathagata and keeps it rolling rightly. Anupada Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya. Okay, dear friends, these are the sources which you can read and know more about Arahant Sariputta's life story, his service and his noble qualities. Dear friends, I hope you have found both enjoyment and inspiration in the brief video recounting the life story of Arahant Sariputta. Renowned as the wisest disciple of Gautama Buddha. With this, I conclude my sermon. May all sentient beings experience well-being and happiness, and may the Noble Triple Gem always bless you. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.